Now to talk about that and other issues is Dr. Jason Johnson, our friend, senior politics editor for Politic365.com. How was your weekend, sir?
I had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. My brother and my father are veterans, so it's always very special to me.
Great. Okay. Glad to hear that. All right. So, you know, we've talked about this many times about how the left and how especially the media and minorities in the media will take to task any conservative minority, whether it's black, Hispanic, or even a female. And as long as they don't hold to the line that they believe blacks, Hispanics, or women should hold, and I believe that's racism and sexism, they'll call them all kinds of names. And, you know, Oreo cookie, whatever, step and fetch it. And here you heard ventriloquist, black puppet, all these repulsive kinds of remarks. What's your take on Michael Eric Dyson's comments?
I mean, first off, it's not racist to have a disagreement over what kind of beliefs the people have. Michael Eric Dyson is entitled to his opinion. Michael Eric Dyson is a philosopher. He's a political science professor. That's what he thinks. As far as I'm concerned, I don't really think that what the lieutenant governor candidate said is particularly productive. I mean, and that's the honest to goodness truth. That rhetoric of black people need to get off the Democratic plantation, it is dumb strategy-wise, it is insulting, and that actually comes from some very racist roots. So, you know, I don't think that Michael Eric Dyson said the wisest thing in the world, but then again, he's not running for office. He's a pundit. He's paid to express his opinion. But as a guy who's running for office, I think the lieutenant governor needs to be a lot more careful about how he speaks to all the constituents whose votes he's trying to get.
Well, so let me get this straight. So the remarks made by the lieutenant governor and the reverend come from racist roots, but Michael Eric Dyson's comments, a black puppet, ventriloquist, whatever, that's not race. There's no racist roots there. There's no racism there.
How would that be racist?
How would that be racist? I'll tell you exactly how it'd be racist. Calling someone a black puppet? What, just because he's black he could say that?
But to know who they can vote for.
No. Just because Eric Dyson's black, he could say black puppet?
Why is that racist?
Oh, if I said it, that would be fine? That'd be okay?
I don't speak for all black people, Steve, but what I'm saying is this. Michael Eric Dyson, as far as he's concerned, and I don't, you know, look, I don't know Michael personally. I can't talk about everything that Dr. Dyson believes. But when you hear someone repeating this nonsense about black people needing to get off the Democratic plantation, yes, there are some very, very racist roots. Is that what the bishop meant? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know the man. But if you say, this is the core issue, and we've talked about this before when it comes to Republican Party and black people. Why don't most black people vote Republican over the last 40 years? Either it's because black people are stupid or because the Republican Party has done a crappy job of communicating to them. It's one or the other. And when you say black people need to get off the Democratic plantation, you are saying blacks are dumb, that they only vote Democrat because they don't know any better. And that is
well,
racist.
Why would they vote Democrat when the Democratic policies have kept them in a perpetual welfare state? Not the entire black community, but a good deal of the black community. Those policies have been proven to be failure. Education in this country stinks. Blacks are the ones who are the poorest recipients of it. It is a vicious, and by the way, I think Michael Eric Dyson was specific to the remarks made about the Planned Parenthood versus the KKK.
Right.
And those remarks have been made by Dr. Alvida King and many in the black clergy.
So what you're saying then is you think black people are stupid for voting Democrat.
I didn't say they're stupid. Don't put words in my mouth.
Here's the thing. Why has the Republican, and I know why, everyone knows why. It's because the Republican Party has done a crappy job of explaining their policies to the black community. It's because the Republican Party does a horrendous job of describing specifically how their opposition to affirmative action, how their general hostility towards funding for public schools in certain school systems is actually going to be...
Really? What school systems don't... I thought it was Barack Obama who canceled the D.C. voucher program, which gave the poorest blacks in the worst schools hope. Which Republicans are they exactly, and what certain school districts are against public funding of education? I'd like to know.
Large numbers of Republican governors in North Carolina, Republican governors in Virginia.
They don't fund public schools?
They have said repeatedly that they want to pull away funding from schools that are deemed as failing.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Good for them.
But here's the larger issue. It doesn't matter.
That makes them against education?
It doesn't matter specifically what Obama did. We're talking about the Republican Party and why this guy who's running for lieutenant governor.
But you see, one of the reasons the black community is where it is because they respect people like you who are the same ethnicity, and you come up with these cockamamie statements which they believe. But many Republican governors are against public education, and I press you, and you give me some vague non-answer.
And that's part of the problem. You're speaking about black people as if we're some huge monolith. Where
I absolutely. You know what? Don't ever say that. You see, it's Michael Eric Dyson. It's Michael Eric Dyson and people like him who make the racist remarks that this is a black puppet because a black could never believe what he's saying. Someone's got to be doing his back. That's the racism. I never say that any group is monolithic ever.
You just said black people are in the condition that they're in because they listen to people like Michael Eric Dyson and myself.
No, I said you asked the question. Wait, you asked the question. Why don't blacks vote for Republicans? What, are they stupid? And I said one of the problems is that many black people respect people like you who are leaders in the community, and you spew this garbage. That's what I said. Because you say, oh, Republicans don't like funding education. I press you, and you say, some Republican governors want to close failing schools. Yeah, so?
Exactly. And because you also have Republican governors in Michigan, in Florida, in Ohio who've done everything in their power to make it more difficult for black people to vote. If the Republican Party decided to take responsibility for their messaging and their policies, they probably could have won the last two presidential elections. They probably could have gone back to the 80s when they used to get 10, 12, 15% of the African-American vote at least. But the party has failed. And every single time someone brings that to their attention, even if it's Michael Eric Dyson with inappropriate comments, Republicans respond just like you're responding by saying, no, it's black people and their silliness. It's black people.
No. Listen. I got to tell you, Professor, stop putting words in my mouth. I did not ever say black people and their silliness. So you might think that, but I have never said it. So please don't put words in my mouth. I'll ask you for the third time.
Black people being misled by people who spew garbage. And again, you still didn't address my core question.
We're not here to talk about the Republican. I think the Republican Party outreach stinks. Not their policies, their outreach. I agree with you.
There we go.
But that's not the issue here. The issue is what Dyson said, which you finally said were inappropriate comments. Now let's move on, if we can, to our friend, your friend. What's her name here? Melissa Harris Perry. Melissa Harris Perry, again, demeaning and diminishing slavery by these remarks, in my view. Let's go to cut 32.
I also appreciate that the hunger strikers are not trying to die. They're trying to generate autonomy in the context of something that strips their humanity, something we certainly know about from the experience of American slavery, and the language of before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Just that idea of creating human freedom within the context of horrible human conditions.
Not only is she comparing prisoners on a hunger strike with slaves, and their cause, equating their cause of somehow, but she's also equating Guantanamo Bay prisoners as slaves when it's been shown by people who have been there, liberal reporters, conservative reporters, officials. I mean, they just spent millions of dollars to revamp the soccer field. I don't think slaves had it that good. Why is it that she has to demean what slaves went through and equate terrorist prisoners at a prison with slavery?
Okay, now this is almost humorous to me. You find Melissa Harris Perry comparing Guantanamo prisoners to slaves to be offensive, but you don't find it offensive when a man running for office says that people who vote Democrat are acting like slaves on a plantation.
No, he never said slaves. I believe, and I don't know the man either, like you don't know the man, so I could only guess. We've heard that phrase before. That phrase is because blacks vote Democrat 95%. So that's and the policies don't benefit blacks. So I would never use that phrase, but he's a black man and he wants to. But I don't understand how terrorist prisoners at a prison doing something is like down with the slavery, the same things the slaves did. I don't get that.
What she's suggesting, and it's philosophy. What she's suggesting is if you are in a place where you feel that your freedom is being denied fairly or unfairly, there are ways that you can establish some freedom by taking control of your own body. But again, I say to you, this is part of the issue here in our public discourse, that this you can be offended by, but a man running for office who's saying the same thing. The plantation reference is a reference to slavery. That's why people say the Democratic plantation, because they used to be the Dixiecrats, because they were the party that supported slavery. That's where it comes from. So if Melissa is offensive, then what the lieutenant governor candidate said is just as offensive. I personally don't care about either one. Melissa's paid to run her mouth. She can say what she wants to say. If that's her philosophy, that's fine. But I think that when you're running to represent people, you have an obligation to be more sensitized to the historical references that you make.
All right, let's move on. We'll agree to disagree there, too. Let's move on. We're talking to Dr. Jason Johnson, Senior Politics Editor, Politic365.com on the Steve Malzberg Show. There was a police beating in, I believe, Sacramento. I don't even know the race of the, to be God truthful honest,
yeah.
I don't know the race of the person being beaten in the video. I just know that the cops weren't black, and again, the woman doing the beating could have been Hispanic. I don't know, but I just wanted you to get in on this. This is cut number 9.
From what I saw, I don't think so, because it was a police officer on top of that man's back, and it was on his head, so I don't feel like it was justified. But I can't just honestly say that it was, because I didn't see it from the beginning. I don't know what the man did.
Okay, so what we just saw, for those who couldn't see it, was a black police officer on top of a man, a white, apparently, or Hispanic female officer beating him with the baton. But here is the next cut. Listen, give a listen. This is what troubles me. That was an eyewitness account. She took the cell phone video. But here's cut 10. This is the news anchor and then the reporter. Here's cut 10.
Before you go, because there's so much more to explore in this piece of videotape, it is so very troubling to see when there are anybody in authority holding someone down who apparently is not armed. These are extraordinarily troubling pictures to watch. But we don't know a lot in this case, and that's where I want to go with you later on in this newscast. We don't know if this suspect, this man who later died, why he or she died, if there were drugs in the system.
All right. Now, I don't know if you know the race, because I'm sure if the man turns out to be black and the woman turns out to be white, it'll heighten the controversy. If he was black, if he wasn't, it'll go away, the way our media works. But I found what disturbed me most of all was the news anchor saying this man apparently wasn't armed. Apparently wasn't armed. He had just beaten somebody inside a store, ran out. This black officer was trying to hold him down and cuff him. He was moving his legs. He wouldn't stay still. They kept commanding him, stay still, and hitting him every time he wouldn't. I mean, this preconceived notion that, well, you know, he's being held down. Apparently he's not armed. Cops don't know if he's armed until they cuff him. What's your take on what took place?
In general, I am usually inclined to give police the benefit of the doubt. It's an extremely difficult and very dangerous and very thankless job. There are more than enough bad cops out there that get away with things that we should take regular police officers who are just trying to do their job, who occasionally make mistakes, and shouldn't rake them over the coals. This isn't Rodney King. This isn't the young man shot in Fruitdale. This isn't Amadou Diallo. It looks to me like, from everything that I have seen so far, it looks to me like the police were behaving responsibly. This guy was a danger.
Well,
so
we agree. We could debate Amadou Diallo one day. Those cops were acquitted by a jury with a black foreman, by the way. Anyway, that's a whole other case for a whole other time. Doctor, thank you for your time as always, sir.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
All right, thank you. Dr. Jason Johnson, ladies and gentlemen.